and therefore a racist definition of democracy, of Judaism. There isn't, to my knowledge, another state in the world that defines itself racially. And it excludes the Palestinians in Israel in the way that Amal described.
I'm sorry, is that a question? Or
and so the question is, really, how do you solve that problem? And it can only be solved by being a democratic state which gives, first of all, citizenship to everyone, because there isn't such a thing as Israeli citizenship at the moment, and therefore equal rights to everyone. And Jews, as a Jew, I would love to go to Israel and know that I shared equality with the Palestinians in Israel. Thank you.
What about Iran?
Doesn't describe itself as a racist.
John Lloyd from the Financial Times. It's really a question for Amal Alh'jooj. In the spirit of Ari Shavit's speech earlier, where he talked at some length about the faults in his side of politics, in the left, in the liberal society, are there elements within the Palestinian Israeli society which you think are negative? Negative in building citizenship that you want? And beyond Israel, how much damage, if any, do you see movements like Hamas, Hezbollah, and beyond that ISIS doing to the cause of Palestinians within Israel?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would, Yohana, not Jonathan. I want to elaborate in the identity issue. And I just want to remind every one of us, when the State of Israel was established in 1948, none of the Arabs who were there came as immigrants to Israel. We were there. We were Palestinians. So when you ask my grandmother, she would say, I am Palestinian. When you ask my father, he would say, I'm an Israeli, because this was the policy that will cut off all the Palestinian from their Palestinian component through the curriculum of the education. And I was part of the educational system in Israel that only defined me as a Bedouin and even not as an Arab. Okay, so this was a policy. Thanks God, in the last 10 years, we are seeing changes in that area. And then you come to my generation, who is a generation that awares of his own rights, and I define myself as a Palestinian Israeli citizen. I am a woman, I am a Muslim, I am a Bedouin, I am an Arab, I am an Israeli Palestinian citizen, and I think all these components are me, and I'm not gonna give up on any part of it. And I live peacefully with all these components. And I want you to look at me as Palestinian without feeling that if I say I'm a Palestinian, I am less loyal to the State of Israel, okay? Now, to your question, I thank you very much for this question, because it's easier always to look outside and say the government, the policy of the government, and it's very hard to look inside our own communities, but I can guarantee you, I spent my last 20 years of doing exactly the work that you are doing, which is how to build my community from within. What are the issues inside my community that we have to deal and address? All the issues of violence against women, all the issues of polygamy, other issues of extremism. And I want to tell you something. When the Israeli government is not loyal to its own citizens, that creates a vacuum. And if there is a vacuum, this is where the extremists would jump in and use the people. And this is exactly what's happening in my community also. Yes, we have negative sides in my community. We have voices that are not representing me at all. I won't be there to support them. And these voices are the same voice that I want to fight against, that exclude women, exclude people who believe in democracy, and exclude people who believe in justice. So these voices are exist in the community as any community, and we are for it. Hamas as a movement, the question should be channeled to Jibril Arjooj, he's sitting here, and not to me, because I am not representing Palestinians in Gaza. I'm representing Palestinians in Israel.
One more question. Oh, hello. Hi. My name's Kalela Lancaster. I work with the New Israel Fund with Amal. I just wanted to mention something about an idea, a concept that was put forward about a year ago by Israel's President Ruby Rivlin in his speech at Kenes Herzliya, where he spoke about a new paradigm in Israeli society, a paradigm, instead of a paradigm of a majority and a minority, a paradigm of tribes, which needs to be broken down from a sort of fighting model of tribes and move towards a mosaic model of tribes. And he laid out in a way, quite a radical vision of Israeli society, which is relevant to this question, I think, and all the issues that the question is throwing up in relation to, for example, Amal and her identity, but many other identities too. So I just wanted to put it to the panelists, anyone who's interested in answering this, what they think about that paradigm, and are they for it, and how could we move towards it, if so? Stav?
Yeah, first of all, I think it was very refreshing for Ruby Rivlin to be probably one of the first leaders to start talking about this problem seriously. Although I have to say that I disagree with that vision. I think that Israeli politics and the Israeli society is tribal enough. Let me tell you a secret. What most people want, and that's not just an Israeli thing, and it's not just a Palestinian thing, and it's not just whatever. People want normality. That's what people want. They want to be able to live their lives without anyone disturbing them, definitely not their government. They want to be able to fulfill their potential. They want to be free. They want to be independent. They want normality. And when we talk about how democratic Israel can be and whether it's democratic enough, what we need to ask ourselves is what we actually give people in their day-to-day lives. And that's missing the discussion. The reason, I focused most of my time in the last 3 years on the Israeli budget. Not just because the budget is the most interesting book that I've ever read, almost, except for the Bible, but because the budget really shows you what happens in people's day-to-day lives. And it shows you, by the way, in regards to what you said about institutions, and I don't dismiss political institutions. I think one of the first priorities of the progressive camp is to rebuild its institutions. But what you see in the budget is how small political groups who know how to use politics control the budget completely. You have one political group, the Settlers Group, 400,000 people, but actually it's not the entire 400,000 people, it's the leadership of that group who know how to control the budget, because they know how to use politics. That's it. Now, what we're missing is a talk about the day-to-day lives. Israel will be a truly great state when it will be equal in the opportunities that we give every citizen. And when we talk about this tribal politics or the tribal society, we have to look at what happens to our education system, to start asking the questions of whether we need a separate education system where you have 4 to more different, separate education systems in one country, when you need 5 years to write a civic book, and then after 5 years that it takes, we still disagree on that book and it will have to be reprinted. These are the questions that we have to ask. What happens in our day-to-day lives? And that's what the young generation is looking for. And you saw that what happens with the young generation here in Britain and the differences in the vote of the young generation, the differences in the way that young people see politics, it very much depends on that. We don't need to still continue to these old discussions. We need to start thinking about the future. Much of our politics is focused on old ideas rather than really talking about what people need.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to Noah and all of the panelists for that really illuminating session. We've got 2 more sessions today before you go, and they're really going to be worth waiting for. Moving swiftly on to our final keynote speech of the day. Jabril Rajoub is one of the leading figures in Palestinian political and national security affairs. A member of Fatah since his teens, he's been an active participant in the movement's transition
from armed resistance to political negotiations. As well as his role of Deputy Secretary General of Fatah, he also heads the Palestinian Football Association and Olympic Committee. We're glad to be able to bring a no-holds-barred view from Ramallah to today's conference. Jabril Rajoub.